All right, blessings, blessings. Welcome once again to our Thursday night crowd, where this is Thursday night Torah Talk live with you and Congregation Rehoboth. We thank you for being here on this summer day. I'm so grateful to Abba Yah for the sun, for allowing us to sunbathe and allow this melanin to replenish. And so we're grateful to be able to enjoy Yah's creation, the Most High's creation. All right. And so tonight, guys, we are looking at a very interesting parashat tonight, man. It is filled with so much from chapter 12. We read through chapter 11 through 16, but man, let me tell you, chapter 12 is filled with so much. Then when we get to 13 and 14, chapter 14 is also filled with a tremendous amount. And then 15 and 16, man. So hopefully you guys are ready to make those connections from the author John and John, the Gospel of Ruach, or not the Ruach, but the Besorah of John, the good news of John. And then in First John, make those connections from there and go all the way back to Isaiah. Then make your connection with the Torah. All right. And so tonight I want to do just that. I want to jumpstart this and go to First John. First John. And there are some interesting things in this text, guys, that in chapter 4, First John chapter 4. And I want to look at a few verses here that stuck out to me. First John chapter 4. And I want to just make something abundantly clear to everyone. And it's in, let me start with verse, I'm just going to start with verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit. Listen, guys, that word try, I want to show you what that word try means. And, excuse me. So he's talking to us, the believers. He uses the Greek word, the word of endearment. He calls us agape toy. Agape toy. You hear that word in it? Agape. And so he's talking to the beloved. He's talking to the believers, brothers and sisters. And so he says here, I want you to try, and Brother Mark used this word on Shabbat in his last teaching. By the way, if you haven't been tuning in, Brother Mark has been laying down some pretty powerful Torah talk teachings. Man, and so he used this word, dokimidzate. The root word is dokimadzo, and the word dokimadzate, mazete, it means to try, it means to test, it means to put to examination. Many people are offended when you examine what they have to say. They're offended that you don't just believe them right away. But excuse me, the scriptures teach us that he says, believe not every spirit. He said, don't just believe it right away. But he says, examine, scrutinize what people say to you. Okay? And so I want to tell this to our children, our children who are tuning in. We should have some youth on tonight. And so when your teachers, you're getting ready to go back to school, your teachers are going to say some things that sound believable. But guess what? I want you, coming from Pastor Benz, I want you to test it. I want you to examine it and scrutinize it. I want you to, and now how do you do that? How do you examine and scrutinize it? Number one, you ask questions. Now, I want to put that question to you guys because we're teaching our children how to examine what is being said. How do we teach our children to test? Okay. Now, I know we love our children, so I know we're all going to participate. I said my answer was asking questions. What's another way that we can teach our children to test what they're hearing? Okay, let me put it this way. How do you teach your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews? How about that? Let's make it personal, because I really want us to see how important this is. So how do you teach your children, nieces, nephews, how to test? How do you teach them? Because that's what John tells us. He tells us right off the bat. He says, beloved. Now, we want to think and believe, that our children are saved. So if they are, John is talking to you and your children. And as the parent, we're supposed to teach them in the fear of Yah, and the teach them the way of Yah. And so if we're going to teach them the scripture is telling us to examine every spirit, to test every spirit. So my question is there. How do you teach your children, nieces, nephews, how to test? Dokimizete. How do you dokimizete your children? How do you teach them? To scrutinize. When teachers say things, to scrutinize. When their friends, come on and go with me here, because they're not just going to be interacting with teachers. They're going to be friends that are going to get in your children's ear. They're going to get into their ear. They're going to get into their hearts, and they're going to begin to do things that you didn't teach them. How do you combat that? Taking out your belt? No. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me? Let's check the sound. Oh yeah, my mic is working. I just did a test.
Yeah.
Oh, blessings.
Yes.
Blessings. Y'all know how we do it, Rehoboth. This is group participation, man. Y'all know how we do it. Let's go.
Hey, can I go? Blessings.
Blessings.
Hey, yeah, I would say this to start it off the top of my head. Whenever somebody is given a true claim, um, I would advise my child or someone to write it down, like you said, like if it's something new that they never heard before. A lot of people get excited off of it, but you have to write it down, and you have to go, and then you have to hear. See, sometimes people say it, but they say something new. But I listen for this. I listen for where I listen. A lot of people don't do this. They won't tell you where they're getting it from. But if they do tell you where they're getting this new information from their source, then I'll go back to that and to see if it's credible, to see if they took a particular point out of whatever they're sharing, if they took it out of context. I've seen stuff like that before, where
okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
So let me just break in real quick. So this is real simple, guys. This is real simple. How do you teach your children to test? I said question things. Question is one. Let's keep it simple. Question. What else?
Research.
These should be, guys, listen, check this out, yo. These should be things we're already doing, so they should just roll off. They should just roll off our lips. They should just, like, it should be something automatic. Like when someone asks, well, what is your child's birthday? August 13th, 2005. It's just automatic. So let's keep it simple, and let's just make one thing we do. One is ask questions. What's another?
Did you hear me say research?
Nope, we didn't hear you say that one. Sorry. Blessings. Okay, research. What's another one? Come on, compare information. Come on, guys, we compare information. You compare what one person said against another source. What's another strategy?
Make sure you take the notes. Make sure you write down clearly what you heard.
Okay, write it down. Good. What's another one? Remember, these are your children, and you're responsible to teach them. And so we're assuming this is already happening. Okay? So this should be like, we should have like a list of things that we're already teaching our kids to do. So we got question, research, write it down. I said compare information. What's another one? So in other words, this should be super easy because it should be something that, guess what, you're already doing. It should be something that you do. So come on, y'all. Come on. What's some other ways that we teach our children to test? So I said question, compare, research. What else do you do? This is super important. Let me say this. This is so super important that you get a handle on this early. Is there anything else you do? Can I tell you something right now? At 15, when your child reaches the age 15, it could be sooner. But when your child reaches 15, studies show that they begin to unaffiliate themselves with the church, with the Christian teaching, with the biblical teaching, sorry. By the age 15, research shows that they begin to unaffiliate themselves by the age of 15. Why? Because some teacher, some friend has convinced them that believing in the scriptures and Yeshua Mashiach is ridiculous. By 15, they have been challenged thoroughly to leave the faith. And research shows, according to Has Your Child Abandoned the Faith, Their Faith, January 8th, 2019, this research group, Foundation Worldview, where is that quote at? Let me find the quote. Oh, this is where I got it from. Is here. If you want the article, you can. I don't have time to just search through it. I should have had it with me, but unfortunately I don't. But I'm showing you where I got the information from, and I will put it in the chat. Okay, there you go. Someone said research. Here we go. Research regarding religious beliefs in the U.S. Let me read it. For several decades, both secular and Christian research groups have tracked their religious beliefs and involvement of the U.S. population. For anyone even mildly aware of current events, it is no surprise that a decreasing percentage of Americans identify as Christian or believers in the Bible. A decreasing population is decreasing, while an increasing proportion of the population does not identify with any religious group or faith. Now, when does that begin? In this article, I read it somewhere, by the age of 15, they've been challenged. Look at this one. The Barna study, very good research firm. They say this: 65% of young adults, they leave the church between the ages of 15 and 30. You see that? That I highlight. That's 65% of young children who were raised in church, they leave by the age of 15. Well, they still go to church. Now watch this. They still go to church, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, they're not there. There's background noise on mine? Okay, hold on, let me see. Oh, Sister Benz, can you mute your phone? There's a lot of background noise, wind noise, sorry. Thank you. Is that better, Sister Ivana? All right, that sounds better. Okay, so guys, this is serious. That means your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, by the time they've reached 15, 65%, hopefully they're not in that 65, hopefully they're in the 25%. Or 35, sorry. Hopefully they're in the 35% that the teachings stick with them. So why is this very important, guys? It's important for us to teach our children how to test information, because when they go to school, especially when they go to universities, these professors are skilled at destroying our children's faith. Why? How do I know? I've been to university. I've seen it happen. I've seen it. This is not a game, man. And so I want to jump off from there. Dokimazo, it's super important that we test, scrutinize information. Why? Let's go back to John, the Gospel of John. I'm going to show you why. So in the Gospel of John, watch what Nicodemus says. So if you read chapter 7, look what they're saying about Yeshua. Look at this. Let me go to verse 40. Many of the people, therefore, when they heard this saying, said, of a truth, this is a prophet. Now, well, what was said? What was said? Look what was said. In that last day, that great day of the feast, Yeshua stood up, cried, saying, he didn't boo-hoo. Cried means he raised his voice. If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believeth on me, as the scripture teacheth. Now, what scriptures are you talking about, guys? Okay, he's talking about the Torah. As the Torah says, out of the belly shall flow rivers of living water. Okay, that's an important claim because it's a teaching from the scriptures. Okay, and the people that were hearing these words, they knew exactly what he meant. They knew exactly what he was referring to. And so, let's keep going. If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He who believeth in me, as the scripture teacheth, out of his belly shall flow the rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Spirit. Okay, the Ruach, which they that believe on him shall receive. Why? For the Ruach Kodesh was not yet given, because that Yeshua was not yet glorified. Many of the people, therefore, when they heard this, of a truth, this man is a prophet. Others said, listen to all these claims that are being made. Others said, this is the Christ. But some said, shall Christ come out of Galilee? All right. And so they were questioning. They were testing the information that was being said. Have not the scripture said that the Christ cometh out of the seed of David? So someone went to the scripture. And out of the town of Bethlehem, where David was. Okay, so they're quoting scripture now. Now watch this. Another way to teach your children, and I wasn't going to say this, I wanted to see if anyone would mention it. Another way of teaching your children to test is to make them familiar with the scriptures. They got to be familiar with the scriptures, man. Listen, I tell children, kids this all the time. Know what you believe and why you believe it. Or know why you don't believe what you believe and why you don't believe it. Know what you believe and why you believe it, and know what you don't believe and why you don't believe it. So that means this. If you're going to reject the scriptures, you got to have a good reason why. You can't just say, I just don't know. I just don't believe it. That's not a reason. All right? Then watch this. When there are competing claims and no one is doing the testing to get to the truth, watch what happens. Verse 43. So there was a division among the people. Where there's no truth, there's division. Come on and go with me. And some of them would have taken him, but no man laid his hand on him. Then came the officers of the chief priests and the Pharisees, and they said unto them, why have you not brought him to us? Why have you not delivered him? Why have you not arrested this man? In other words, why have you not shown him to be guilty before proven innocent? Come on and go with me. The officers answered, never man spake like this, man. Then answered them the Pharisees, are you also deceived? They said, wait a minute. Are you caught up? Did you not test what was being said? And so if you don't test, you will be deceived. Have any of the rulers of the Pharisees believed on him? Of course. Of course. Which ruler of the Pharisees believed on him, guys? All right, let's keep going. It's right here in the next sentence. Nicodemus said unto them,
Repeat.
he that came to Jesus by night. All right, being one of them. Absolutely, Nicodemus says in verse 52. Oh, sorry, verse 51. Look what he says. Do our law judge any man before it hear him and know what he doeth? In other words, isn't our law supposed to test the man, test the claims, scrutinize? He says he uses the word judge, choose between. I think this word is decrino. Crino it is. Crino. Crine. You guys see this here? Crine. This word here. Crine. It means to scrutinize, to separate, to pick out, select, choose information that's true and not true, to be of an opinion, to deem or to think. That's one thing we didn't teach. That was one thing we didn't say in our, how do we teach our children? Question, compare, research, write down, to think for themselves. How about that one? These are things that you're doing, right? Teach them to choose, to pronounce an opinion. Teach them to have an opinion on something, whether it's right or wrong. Look what he says here. All these different things is how we teach our children to test, to contend like a warrior. Because if that's what we are, if we're warriors for the truth, then we have no choice but to teach our children to war for the truth. What do? Okay, he says, Crino here, he says, doesn't our law test, compare? Verse 52, they answered and said unto him, art thou also of Galilee? Hold on, are you biased? Search and look, for out of Galilee ariseth no prophet. And every man went to his own house without having come to the true knowledge of who Yeshua was. They disputed. Isn't that a shame? That when you test, it doesn't lead you to the right conclusion? And that's what's happening to our children. Because we're not teaching them the test. And so the skills they have is leading them to the wrong conclusions. And everyone just goes back the same way they came before they encountered Yeshua. Oh, come on and go with me here. When we encounter Yeshua, there should be a change. There should be a difference. We should come into the truth. We should understand more about who he is and what we believe and why we believe it. Not just go to our own homes the same way we did. That's when we came. All right, now how does this go back to Isaiah? How does this go back to Isaiah? Well, let's go to Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 14. I like what he says here. Isaiah 54 and 14. In righteousness shalt thou be established. Thou shalt be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee. Behold, they shall surely gather together, but not, watch this, but not by me. Whoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. Then he says this: no weapon formed against me. We all know this one, right? No weapon formed against me shall prosper. But we don't even quote this part. And every tongue that rises up against me in judgment is going to be condemned. Abba is going to condemn it. Now watch what he says here. He says, this is the heritage of the servants of Yah, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. Let me ask you a question. Are you a servant of Yah? That seems like a straightforward question, right? And it seems like everybody will say yes. But this word is one of our words that means to worship. It's abad. It's the word abad. So he says, this is the heritage of the servants. What is the heritage of the servants? Every tongue that rises, no weapon that forms against you shall prosper. Every word, every tongue that rises up against you shall be condemned. That's our heritage if you are a servant. So now we have to qualify and say, well, hey, am I a servant? It's kind of like Brother Mark has been teaching us about running the race. Or sorry, about hold on. Here we go. So this word is ebed, but the root word is abad. And so Brother Mark has been teaching us about, are we actually the ones that Paul is referring to when he says, work out your salvation? All right. And so watch what a servant is. I'm going to show you guys what a servant is. So now we're going to have to say, well, wait a minute. Is that me? So we see here a worshiper of God. But watch this. A servant, in a special sense, as prophets, Levites, servant of Israel, servant as a form of address between equals, subjects. Okay. Now, Brother Mark dealt with this when he says that our citizenship, our conversation is in heaven. Come on and go with me. So that means that we are subjects of the kingdom. And the reason why we're subjects of the kingdom is because we serve the king. Now, my question to you is, what are you doing to serve the king? What is your service you provide for the king? Listen, just being saved is not service. Come on and go with me here. We got to get that clear. He says, and Paul said this. He says, for by grace we were saved through grace, not of ourselves, lest we boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Yeshua HaMashiach for good works. In other words, we got saved by grace to do good works, to serve. So my question is, what area of service are you involved in? This is huge because he says, watch this. Let me go back to the text. He says, in verse 17, and every tongue that rises against thee. In other words, every tongue that comes to test who you are, every tongue that comes to dispute against what Yah has said, every tongue that comes to to judge, every tongue that comes to tear you down, every single tongue that comes to accuse you of something, every single tongue that rises up to test who you are. You know what's going to happen to it if you're a servant? Good and mighty. He says it's going to be condemned. It's going to be condemned. That means it's not going to work. Oh, God. That means that whatever they're saying is not going to come to pass. That means to say that people may believe it, but it's not going to be true. That's good news, man, for me personally. Personally, it's good for me. Is it good to you like that? Are you being tested? Are people saying things about you that's not true? He says every tongue that rises up against you is going to be condemned. And I like this because it's in the Hifil. You see this? In the red here. That means it's causative. And it's imperfect. That means every time someone does it, Yah is going to rise up on your behalf and condemn it. Oh, that's good. Well, what do you mean condemn? What is he going to do? It doesn't matter if it's a civil case, ethical case, or a faith case. Abba Yah is going to trouble the person. Yep. He's going to make that allegation depart from you. That's good news, man, to me. He's going to condemn, watch this, the allegation, that tongue that rose up is going to be condemned as guilty themselves. In other words, they dug a ditch for you, but they forgot to dig one for themselves. Oh, yes. Now, how does this go back to our Torah? And I'm done. Oh, yes. I mean, there's so many areas I can go. I can go look at Deuteronomy chapter 12. Look at this. 12 and verse 8. You shall not do after all the things that we do here this day. Every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes. Let me tell you something. Because I test your words, because I compare your words, because I research things that are said, because you do the same. People saying things to make you think that they're right. They're not right in reality. They're only right in their own eyes. And Yah said, we're not doing that anymore. You've got to be objective. You've got to compare the truth to what you are saying. And because Yah is going to compare your righteousness to what people are saying about you. And he's going to condemn what they say. Now watch this. We have to do the same. We got to condemn what is right with what we think. And then guess what? Condemn everything that doesn't line up with the truth. And guess what? It's not your idea of what is true. It's not what's true in your eyes. This is why you got to study to show yourself approved. This is why you've been studying, to show yourself approved. Not just for your sake, but for your children's sake. When they come to you with an idea that they got from school, from a teacher, from a friend, you can't be scrambling like, I don't know. Hey, do whatever feels well. I don't know. No, you've got to come correct. You've got to come with it. You've got to show and prove that what we believe is the truth, not simply what's true in my eyes. Because guess what? Another way to teach your children to test things is to live the truth in front of them. Because you are an example now that cuts against the world and their ideas. And when they come to you asking you, mommy, daddy, grandpa, auntie, unc, why do you do X, Y, and Z? I'll be able to come with the truth. It's time out for telling kids that if you kiss a girl, you're gonna get them pregnant. All that old silly stuff. Now you may say, I don't tell my child that. Well, think of the stuff you did tell them. How about that? Think of that stuff. You know why? Because the kids are going to test. The kids are going to test you. They're going to Google you. They're going to Google your information. And once they find that your credibility is not worth the salt, you've cut off your credibility with your children. Blessings. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else? My spiel. Man, oh man. Anyone else? Blessings. Oh, yes. What say you?
Blessings.
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 I was wondering, and I want to say it was Deuteronomy 15. Let me see if that was the right one. When the bond servant would serve for 6 years and be released free at the 7th year.
Oh yes, that was.
I'm looking right now. So, well, my thought and my wonder was, I thought back to Jacob and how he offered to work 7 years for Rachel because he loved her, but then he ended up working the extra 7 years because he had to marry the firstborn. I'm wondering, was that something that was already in practice, like that 7-year situation, or am I miscalculating because they said they would work for 6 years and then be released on the 7th year?
How many years did Jacob say he would work?
He worked 7 years for Rachel, and then you end up getting Leah, and then he worked another 7 years.
Yeah, I believe this is relating to the Jubilee. I believe on that 7th year, should let him go free. When was that established, though? I think that was in. I think we read about that. I think that goes all the way back to like Leviticus, and does it go to Exodus? No, I think it goes to Leviticus. I think that's the earliest we read about that Jubilee. Hold on. Yeah, because that 7th Sabbath is a Jubilee year here. Let's see.
No, that says every 6. No, every it says in the 7th year.
Right. Exactly.
You're not meaning 7 times 749 because Jubilee is at the 50th year.
No, I know, but I'm just thinking that I'm just throwing something out. I don't know. Yeah, I was just throwing a possible answer out.
Well, that stood out to me. I think I never made that connection before, about him offering to work those 7 years in order to have her as his wife, and he ended up doing it twice.
Oh yeah, man, it's a long time.
And remember, it was kind of a little back and forth with him even to be set free and to get some cattle from him. So I know I mentioned previously, like sometimes the law, a lot of the laws came up a little bit maybe after people started acting up. At least that's what my thought process is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, that's interesting.
I say that because he had to go put the sticks in the ground by the cattle and the sheep and do this because the dad was trying to keep him. He made the deal with him to get so many cattle and sheep, the ones with the spots. But then he was trying to bamboozle him and not give him the right ones. So yeah, like in this passage, it's telling them, let them go. Don't leave them, let them be credit free, that you don't owe them nothing no more. Wait, that was another passage. Hold on. That was a different scripture with the credit. Is that the same one?
You know what's interesting about this passage here is when you think about it, what it's saying is if your brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, is sold to you and serves for 6 years. Now, they will be sold, so you would pay money for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're hoping that that money would come back to you. And what if the debt was so high that 6 years wasn't enough time to work to bring that money back to you? I think this is super interesting because we would be like, no, you got to work another year. Until you work this debt off, you ain't leaving. But look at the grace in this is that no matter what your debt was, the Israelites had to release you after that 6th year. And that tells me that Yah is gracious. It's telling us a lot about the character of Yah.
Yeah, even at the beginning of Deuteronomy 15, 1-6 says the debts will be canceled every 7 years. So even if you loan somebody something and they didn't pay it to you by that 7th year,
Right.
and then it also said, don't be stingy because the 7th year is coming. You still need to loan it to them because it's always going to be poor people in the land. So it's pretty much generosity to the poor is expected. It's supposed to be accepted as your responsibility. It's not an option that you do this for each other. And that way you're going to always be continually blessed. If I know that I'm always going to be continually blessed by continuously blessing my brother or my sister, then it shouldn't even be a thought in my mind.
And then look what the passage says, Sister Benz. It says that second half of it. And when you send him away free from you, you should not let him go away empty-handed.
Right. That's what I was mentioning, talking about Jacob when he was trying to not give him the right cattle.
Right. See, that's a blessing. And it says, from what Abba Yah has blessed you with, you shall give it to him. You shall remember that oh my goodness. He cankles right here. This is the reason for sending him away. Remember, he tells us right here. Remember when the Israelites left Egypt? They were enslaved for years. And they worked and they got, I don't know if they worked hard.
Generations.
And it says, remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Abba Yah redeemed you. Therefore, it's a commandment. I command you this thing today. He says, when your brother is enslaved or indebted to you, not only are you going to let him go free in that 7th year, but you're going to bless him on the way out. Goodness. Hey, that's a blessing, man. That is a blessing. Awesome. That's an awesome connection. Awesome connection. Anyone else? Blessings, man. This is awesome stuff. Man, there was so much in this text as well that, man, talking about eating, you may eat the meat. Where was that at? Was that in 14, I think? Wait, was there something in 15 that I saw also? Oh, yes, he says here. Oh, verse 22, 15:22 here. When he says, thou shalt eat it. It says, verse 20, thou shalt eat it before the Lord thy God year by year in the place which the Lord shall choose, thou and thy household, and if there be any blemish therein, as it as if it be lame or blind or have any ill blemish. Thou shalt not sacrifice it unto the Lord thy God. If it has a blemish, he says, you shall eat it within thy gates. Now, when he says the unclean and the clean person shall eat it alike, who's he referring to when he says the unclean person? Did that strike you guys?
Somebody who might someone who's ritually unclean, like who might have a sore or be on their menstrual cycle or something like that.
All right. And remember, this is dealing with the I think chapter 15, isn't dealing with the feast? I think it's dealing with the feast days. The feast sacrifices. Hold on. I believe. Oh yeah.
I think that's just dietary laws in general. And I think I was gonna say earlier when you brought it up, that kind of stood out to me too, about us being able to eat certain meats and certain bugs and certain fowl and fish, and how it's all laid out. And you know how we've been noticing some things on YouTube lately, and
Oh yeah.
frugivore and this and that. And it just makes me think. I remember seeing and I'm not sure what part of the country. I think it was on the East Coast though, that
Uh-huh.
I saw some fishermen show how they would catch crab or salmon and other. And even if it wasn't the crab they were just trying to catch, you got to imagine that they're dumping things into the ocean as bait, and it was like pig feet and all kind of stuff. So they're throwing these things into the ocean and fishing for crab and other fish, and we very well could be ingesting something unbeknownst to us because they're using pig feet to, to throw off. And I mean in bucketfuls, them
Oh
big white
yes.
Home Depot bucketfuls of pig feet, so that they can bait them up and then do their fishing to get them ready to sell to the market. And it was a particular type of crab that they only wanted the crab legs, and they would take off the one or two and throw the crab back in the ocean because it could regenerate. I was just like, man.
Did you hear that, guy? So, Sister Ben, you're saying that in the chicken that we could eat, or not the chicken, but the fish, the fish with the scales, those fish that are allowable in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14, because these corrupt fishermen are using, well, I shouldn't say corrupt. These fishermen are using pig as the bait, and when those fish eat that pig and then catches that fish, that biblical fish that we could eat, sells it to the market, we could be eating pork and not even know it.
That's what it made me think of. They were
Man,
specifically fishing for crab, but I mean, you throwing pig feet into an ocean, so any creature out there is able to eat it, right?
absolutely.
I'm just
And
saying.
we don't know. I mean, what about a big fish? What if they're catching a fish, a biblical allowable fish that's huge, and they would use the same pork to catch that fish? Man. Now we know that chicken is one of the meals that we can eat. And do you know that they inject the chickens with hormones to make them bigger?
Yeah.
What do they inject in chickens? Because they're saying that no chicken that is um, raised in the U.S. is injected with hormones. In fact, they said the USDA has, do you guys believe this? That the USDA has banned all hormones and steroids in poultry since the 1950s. Do you guys believe that?
I'll let you know when our chickens get full grown, and I'll tell you how them breasts and legs and thighs check out. I don't know. I think they might still be pumping them though. If it's not hormones, it's with some kind of salt water to make them look plump. Because I've had some chicken, I want to say from Nigeria or the African market. The meat is a little tougher. It's not as it's different. It's a different meat.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering how many or what's the percentage of chickens that are imported from other countries. Like, you know, America's not the only place that has poultry. Yeah, this would be something to study. Like, how much? What are the United States? How much do we import poultry from other countries? And do those USDA rules apply to imported chickens? Anyway, since Yvonne said they lie all the time. Look, let me show you just to show you that I'm not lying. Look, they said this too. Hold on, let me find it again. I just thought about that when it talked about, like you brought that up, we can eat, you know, various kinds of foods. Yeah. It's right here. A nationwide survey revealed that 77% of Americans believe that chickens contain added hormones. The reality, no chicken sold or raised in the U.S. is given added hormones. In fact, the USDA has banned all hormones and steroids in poultry since the 1950s. So, but watch this. Were your parents born before the 50s?
No.
Now, watch this. If they were, those hormones would pass right on to us. Come on and go with me here. Come
Well,
on and
our
go with me.
grandparents though too, if not
Grandparents,
so, but
they passed that on. That did
well,
look. Go
what
ahead.
about beef? What about cow or beef? Because if it's not hormones in the chicken, then it's definitely some salt water solution. And I mean, I'm saying when I was about 7 and my baby cousin was born and he came home from the hospital and they was bringing all the stuff in and I was excited because I got to hold the baby. He had a floppy neck. We had to support that baby. Make sure you support his head. Right. Okay. These babies come out with holding their head up, looking around. Where she at? I can smell her. Is the breast milk coming out? Yeah, doctor, who are you? Like, they are strong. I'm just, I mean, evolution. I don't know. What do you want to call it? But it's something going on somewhere.
Look
Maybe it's
right
in the
here.
beef. The cows, they feed these animals corn and they're not supposed to be giving them corn. Um,
Well, let me share this. According to the University of Minnesota, hormones such as androgens and estrogens are estrogenous coming from outside the system. They are given to growing cattle to promote growth, and they cooperate with the endogenous hormones. Growth promoting hormones improve feed efficiency, protein deposition, and growth rate of cattle. Now, watch this. See how it says estrogen? People eat beef all the time. steak, barbecue, hamburger, all that stuff, right? Our children are eating that. Do you know the effects of estrogen on males? Look what it says. Although the male body needs estrogen, certain levels, to function properly, high estrogen levels can cause, you see this? Gynecomastia. I don't know what that is. I got to look that up. Erectile dysfunction and infertility. You see that? The role of estrogen. News Medical. Now we're talking about the word which says we could eat these things, but now we're talking about something different. We're talking about what Babylon, what this corrupt society is doing to the cattle, is doing to the meats that Yah created that he said was clean for us to eat. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about what is being done to the meats, to the foods that Yah says is okay for us to eat. Well, we already talked about the fish. They're using pork as bait. They're using estrogen in the beef, which causes men to have erectile dysfunction. They can't produce their seed. Their sex drive, where'd that go?
Also, meat glue.
Oh, see, we didn't even talk about it. And then, so, okay. So guys, here's what we're saying. The foods that Abba Yah has created for us to be clean, for us to eat, those foods he created to be clean are being corrupted. So we got to do something different now. We got to do something different. We acknowledge that the animal is clean, but the processing, the preparation of this animal, it's not Abba Yah's fault. That is the fault of those individuals who are greedy for money, who are avarice. They have a greed for mammon, for money. And what does it do? It creates a bigger cow to get more money. And this estrogen, when we eat that steak, that hamburger, that spaghetti with come on now, those ribs. Because we can't eat pork ribs, we eat beef ribs.
I also think about the where they're being treated and killed humanely. You know, they had specific laws in which how the animal would be killed and the blood poured out. And even in this one we was just reading, like, you know, if you're too far from the city, then you can eat, you know, just make sure you don't drink the blood. Make sure you
right.
You could kill it and eat it. And I think I forgot which one he said you're not supposed to eat, but you can give it to a sojourner
or if it was killed, if it just
or
died.
if it died of itself, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now look at this, men. You eat beef. You like beef? Weight gain, erectile dysfunction, low sex drive, infertility, enlarge of the breasts, male boobs. I think I got a few little shoot.
Did you change
depression, loss of energy, decrease in muscle mass from eating the foods that Abba Yah has said were clean, but they're being corrupted.
Did you change your screen?
Oh, sorry about that. There we go. That's what's happening. Now, incidentally, I want to show y'all something. Because I've been I've been, let me show y'all. I've been on a strict, I don't want to call it a diet, because I'm trying to change this into a lifestyle, guys. And I want to show you something. So you may not be able to see this, but I'm going to have to take a picture. Here, this is what I'll do. I know how to do it. Watch this, y'all. Look at this. Look how technical. I want to show y'all this. Let me show y'all this. Okay, take it there, and then I'm going to just give me a second, please. Bear with me. Please be patient with me. Y'all know that song. Yah is not through with me yet. Okay, so I'm going to do something here. You give me a chance. Bear with me. Hold on now. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I figured it out. I'm going to show y'all this. Okay. Now let me bring this. Hold on, guys. I'm just, just saying what I'm saying. That we need to do something different. What do you do when the meat is corrupt? When the clean foods are being corrupted? Do you keep eating the clean food, or do you do something different? Now, I want to show you from 8:3 to 8:10. That's 7 days. I was weighing 214. Hold on, let me make it larger. I was 214. I stopped eating meat. I stopped eating all that hormone stuff, because remember it said one of the things that it makes you do, one of the first ones is weight gain, right? Okay. So I said, let me do something different. So I started eating fruit, beans, legumes, lentils, looking at the ingredients. Guys, I'm going to start breaking down. Look, 214, that's 22, sorry. So I started this on Monday. So what was Monday's date, babe? I mean, Denise, such events. 7th. Okay, guys, it was the 7th.
Sorry, I stepped away for a second.
Oh, it's okay. On the 7th, guys, I was weighing 214. I took my weight on the 9th, which was Wednesday. I was at 209. Did my weight today on the 10th, 206. No meat, vegetable, fruit, watermelon, juice. That's what I've been drinking on. This is watermelon. I've been eating all millets: watermelon, honeydew melon, cantaloupe. And I've been full and I've had energy. I haven't lost any energy. So within 4 days, I dropped. No meat that has all these hormones in it. That's going to cause I have weight loss. Because why? I stopped eating that meat that has estrogen in it. Now I'm going to be working on, I don't think I have this, but I'm going to be working on all of this. And just maybe scientists know, the USDA has to know this because they banned it in chickens. Come on and go with me here. And if the government knows this, and because African Americans have been a target of racial oppression, social, emotional, mental, financial, political, religious, spiritual, all of that, because we've had those areas denied to us historically and modern day, what makes you think someone's not sitting up there corrupt saying leave it in the beef? Because we know that since they're only 12% of the population anyway, we can make them fat, non-producing, non-reproducing, to look like women, depressed, no energy, no muscle. Then we could arrest them for committing a crime. Mm-hmm. Or creating laws like they did with crack cocaine to make sure they've weaponized food. Come on, go with me, guys. They made the food a weapon. But just like the scripture says, every tongue, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. No weapon. Mm-mm. Oh, no. No weapon. So you're going to continue to eat beef? What you going to do? Even after I've shared with you this research, you going to continue to eat it? We need to tell all of our men, if you can cut the head, the body's going to die. So we got a bunch of, now see, this explains why our boys today are so feminine. They weaponize the food. That Abba Yah has said you can eat that. So the enemy said, okay, if Abba Yah said you can eat it, then what we're going to do is we're going to taint it. We're going to corrupt it. All right. I'm glad. Hey, we got to start being proactive, family. We got to start and stop allowing the enemy to deceive us and be more savvy. We've got to know, as Paul says, our enemy's devices. We got to know how he works. And then, we've got to make decisions based on our knowledge of the times. My people perish for the lack of knowing what's going on and knowing how to go into the Torah and knowing how to apply it in our lives. We're dying. And we're leaving service on the table. This is why it's important to teach our kids how to test. Now watch this. Now that we have this knowledge of what beef is doing to our children, you gonna keep having steak? You gonna keep making hamburgers? Beef hamburgers? Spaghetti with beef in it? You gonna continue that? Beef should be off the list of grocery items for this reason. Unless you want a fat kid who won't be able to have babies, you won't be able to have no grandchildren, with breasts, depressed, no energy, lazy, no muscle. That's what you want? Keep giving them beef. But mommy, I want beef. I want a steak tonight. Oh, sweetheart, let me make you a fat little kid that you don't have no energy. You got breasts and can't have no children. Let me help you be like that. Why? Because I love you. You my favorite kid. Come on, man. We got to be smarter. We got to be biblical. We got to be spiritually astute. And this is the easy one. This is just one. This is just one area. They weaponize food. They're already able to age 15. Our kids have already checked out. See what the enemy's doing to us? You see why we need to come together and stop fighting each other? You see why we need to unify and stop being so petty and petty? Abiyah said he's going to destroy anyone whose tongue is against you, who says things against you. He's, I'm going to destroy him. And while we're loving our neighbor, I love you. And we're not fighting the battle, the war. We're losing it. Well, blessings, y'all. I just wanted to throw that in. I got more. I can't wait. I got more. I'm looking forward to being able to teach again on Tuesday nights. I'm almost done with the series. Probably the end of August, maybe, hopefully. And then September, when school starts back, man, I'm going to unleash studies I've been doing. Thank you, Brother Mark, for holding the fort, allowing me to have some extra time to study. And a little bit of it came out tonight. But yeah, they're weaponizing food. So we've got to understand that no weapon formed against us will prosper, but we got to do something. We listen, you are a warrior. You're not passively sitting by loving people and saying, oh, we don't fight. No. We fight in the spirit. We fight in our heart. We fight with our actions. We say, no, I'm not going to put anything in me that's not going to make me a soldier for y'all. Next week, I'm going to deal with, well, not next week, but soon. I'm going to deal with the other side of what does it do when women, how does testosterone affect women? And I'm gonna show you what they're putting testosterone in. Yep. I'm gonna show you what they're putting testosterone in. Soon, that's coming. All right, blessings everyone. Lila Tove, thank you again for joining us. Those of you who are on Facebook and YouTube, blessings to you and your family. And we will be right back here on next Thursday at 7:30. Join us then. Blessings. Blessings, everyone.
Blessings.
And shalom.
Blessings.